Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions, and I apparently shave my beard entirely off. I was actually just gonna trim it, but like, I let the neck beard get too strong, and it was so overwhelmingly powerful, I couldn't get an even cut. So I was like, whatever, I'm just getting rid of the whole thing. We'll start fresh. How about that? So yes, the 12-year-old Mr. Happy is now back to do Mondays with Mr. Happy. You probably haven't seen me in a while. On that note, we have some videos here. I didn't do too many videos this last week. I was so focused on trying to finish Star Ocean 5, which we just did today. I beat the Ethereal Queen, and I refinished the game, because I had finished the game off camera, and then I beat the Ethereal Queen. That was a fun fight. All I gotta say is, Dead Man Walking. I'll probably, actually, you know what, I might make a few videos, because a lot of the information on Star Ocean 5 is still only in Japanese, like unless you buy like the official strategy guides or things like that, which, you know, it's the year 2016 and people are still buying friggin' guides. Whatever. I'm someone who makes guides. I shouldn't complain. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to do some videos about that to cover how to make this rare synthesis items, how to go about some of the harder fights and some of the more overpowered roles. So on that note, guys, I am going to get straight into the Q&A because I actually have someplace to be in, well, not in a couple of hours, but we're going to head there in a couple of hours. So let's get started, shall we? All right, first question. It's covering my face a little. Oh, you know what it is, actually? You know what it is? Look at it. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. I actually do that on purpose. I have it moved over a little bit so that way my face is like, there we go. Okay. Hey, oh, Mr. Happy. No, hey, have a 99 stack of hello, Mr. Happy for those who cut immediately to the questions. Or they're going to have to be guessing around because I don't add any annotations or anything. All right, have a question roulette. I love question roulette. Let's go with the final question. So you got the serious one. Is it right to disobey oppression at any cost? What? I don't even know how to answer this. Like, I don't know if this is, like, about, like, serious oppression, like, you know, in life, like, of course, the one major fucking form of oppression that there is, and that's fucking slavery and shit like that. I don't know, like, yeah, fuck it, don't let anyone control you. You fucking take control of your own life, and you take it into your control, and you make it whatever you will. Don't let somebody else tell you how to live your life. And I'm gonna make it serious question, not serious at all. Control your life. Do it. All right. After that, let's do the next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. Important questions. 1. What are the best cross-class skills to assign to a monk? I actually did a video on monk not too long ago. You should check that video out. You need invigorate. You need blood for blood. I don't care how annoying it is to level Lancer to 34. Those are needs, not wants. Other than that, you need, what is the? I don't even know. Oh, you need mercy stroke. You need. Well, you don't need Bloodbath, but you might as well take it. And then Fracture's the big one that people talk about. Fracture has its place in Monk's rotation, mostly as a means of ensuring that you don't clip your Demolish early when you don't have a touch of death between Demolishes. I explained that in the video, but Fracture is usually the 5th. So otherwise, people take, like, Foresight or Keen Flurry. Like, those are the only other real ones that people are going to take. And 2, how do you pronounce Keykern? I pronounce it Keykern. I do not know if that is correct. Okay, here's what we're going to do. When I go to Fan Festival, I'm going to make sure that both Ethis and I know to ask Koji how it's pronounced. I'm sure that it references something else, but I call it Kikern. That's what I call them, so I hope that that works. Next question. I asked this on September 7th, 2015, about 9 months ago, and you didn't know the answer. So I'm going to ask again and hope to get my question answered. What is your blood type? Thanks. You'll be glad to know that I still don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head. It's not like I haven't been told. It's just I never, like, it's in a medical record somewhere. It's not one of the rarer ones, but yeah. Ask me again in 9 months, maybe I'll know. Alright, next question. Hello again, Mr. Happy. Hello. Thanks for answering my questions a few weeks back. It was very helpful in deciding what weapon to peruse between Lore, Anima, and Savage. As a bonus, know most of my 8-person group plays Lolgoon, so your past joke can come back through the window. Can it come through Dwayne? No. I have a few questions having to deal with my main and other classes I want to try out. 1, my main is Summoner, and originally I wanted to play Scholar as my main healer due to taking less time in leveling. However, due to the stats bonuses being shared, dude, it only costs 250 Grand Company seals to switch between Scholar and Summoner stats. That is all it costs. there's no excuse nowadays to not just purchase a stack of those and just switch whenever you have to change between playing them. Like, it takes, is it going to take you an extra 60 seconds to, like, change the stats? Yeah, but it's 60 seconds of your life. Like, you'll be fine. Just go buy the item from the grand companies. It's really cheap. So don't even worry about that. Don't let that be a factor. 2, you had mentioned eventually doing an updated guide for each class. I kind of started that with the monk one. It wasn't really a guide, but it's sort of like a beginner thing, because from what I've done, as I've made guides before, what I've noticed is that if you put out a kind of a full guide, there are some people that sort of internalize the whole thing, and then there are people who internalize parts of it. The biggest thing is that there's a lot of focus on openers when you're playing a job. Like, everyone wants to know the opener, and they think once they know the opener, they're good, and that's them knowing how to play their job properly. When it comes to a lot of the smaller details that people probably don't want to hear you talk about, you're supposed to use Fracture as a filler between demolishes in case you don't use Touch of Death between those demolishes. Like, people hear that and they're like, alright, fantastic, dude. Like, whatever, I'm gonna go practice that opener now. So that's kind of like that's kind of like, I just make the video with the opener because that seems to be what people sort of want to know the most. And it seems like the little details in between are more common to be found on, like, forum threads where people ask that kind of stuff. And then you talk about the Summoner one. The Summoner one is probably, of all the old class, like, beginner guide things that I did, probably the worst one of all of them, to be honest. And it's something I definitely would like to revisit, but that's not going to be happening anytime soon. Summoner's not yet 60, and my first Summoner that will be 60 is over on Zalera. So the odds of me getting to play super crazy endgame content, not the greatest on that character. So don't expect that one anytime soon, but I would like to revisit those all together at some point. And 3, off topic, how long does it normally take for people to consistently beat a new Extreme Primal over a patch? People who are good, like really good, or like they've been raiders for quite some time, less than a day. Like, Nidhogg took us 2 hours or something like that from when we first stepped foot in to when we cleared him. So anywhere from 2 to 8 hours is usually an acceptable pace, but almost everybody usually, almost all of the, like, hardcore raid groups will beat a Primal within their second lockout. It's very rare. It takes all the way to a third. So, but normal, like, not super hardcore raiders, people just want to get in, it's acceptable for it to take anywhere from, like, a day to a week. Some people it takes months because they don't try it right away, or they just don't have any experience with Extreme Primals. So those take significantly longer for them to even find groups or to join learning parties before they eventually clear it. Alright, next question. Hey, Haps. Okay, 2 questions here. 1, you talked about Raban getting his arm back at the end of your last Mondays with Mrhappy. Raban just needs to happen across Hildebrand and Notch. After contemplating whether the mammoth is a cute girl or a strapping young lad, the mammoth could just touch Raban's stump and presto, new arm. It's true, but you're never going to see them interact in the main story. Like, when you put those together, yeah, it's like, oh, that sounds totally doable. But we've also seen Vivi doesn't turn back time very far. He kind of resets time within, like, a small frame of a few minutes. So even then, I don't think that would be possible. And it's hard to think you could just grow Raban an arm back. I'd rather take the other option where Sid makes him a mechanical arm. And 2, my thought on jumping potions. Oh, this is always fun. If someone wants to buy 14 and pay an extra to not play all the game content, why should I care? Why should anyone care? All that money goes to help develop a game that I will play 100% of the content of. It would annoy me if they got top tier gear along with the jump potion. They should not get more than regular green dungeon gear. What gear do you think people would get with a level jump potion? Well, first of all, if they were to do a level jump potion, it would jump you to 60 when the level cap is about to be 70. That's the first thing to keep in mind. Is the way the jump potion works in World of Warcraft is it's closer to the end of an expansion. Like, once all the content's been kind of exhausted and they're in a lull, that's when the jump potion reaches the current max level. But that's in preparation of the next expansion. And at that point, who the hell cares? The content's been exhausted. They haven't made... It's literally been over a year at this point since World of Warcraft has put out a content patch on the live servers. Like, if anyone's level boosting at that point, they're accomplishing nothing other than getting ready for Legion, where they'll have to learn something going forward. If they start with, like... Let's just say they do this. They do start at the level 60. I would probably expect 170 to be the starting point, to be an acceptable starting point with a jump potion. And yeah, I kind of share your feelings. Like, I don't think a jump potion is the right idea, but I also don't think you're gonna overcome something. My ultimate like be all end all with the jump potion is people like to say people jump and they don't know how to play the game. I don't know about you, but I've seen plenty of level 60 players that did play through the entire game and have no idea what they're doing. More so than players who did actually learn something going from 1 to 60. So my ultimate theory is, if people actually care to play well, they could jump right in at level 60, have never played the game before, and they'll learn. People who will not play well can go through 1 to 60 a billion times and never get any better. So ultimately, that's how I feel about it. I've gone to conventions, right? And I've gotten in the and I've seen the people like lining up for, you know, the Sephiroth challenge. I've seen people who have never played Final Fantasy 14 get in that line and play better than people who say they've been playing for 3 years, because they're at least they pick up on things very quickly, or they've played MMOs before and they get basic concepts. So you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it doesn't even matter. It's like, if they end up doing it, they end up doing it. I don't use it. It's not like most people are going to spam those things, and most reasonable people won't go and buy them. They'll just get whatever if it comes free with an expansion pre-order or something. Alright, next question. Hey, Haps, last week I gave you a shiny new Kieran's Osod, so this week I have a strapping pair of Byaku's Haydite. Why did you give me the better item this week instead of last week? That's all I'm going to say. Serious question. I found on my server having increasing difficulty with liars in the party finder. I'm a casual gamer. I do pug groups to clear most things that don't have time to commit to statics. It used to be no problem for me in 2.x. I was able to eventually clear everything, including coils and pug groups, whatever. Just to be clear, I'm not talking savage. I'm talking like Nidhogg, and that is the question I want to accomplish in this game. Now, I'm having issues forming parties and joining clear parties because they always are one or two people who want that simply aren't ready to clear. Many don't even know the first phase in the fight. I don't want to waste my time because I have so little of it to play, but I don't want to be seen as a rage quitter or get a bad rep online because I either kick people who lie. How should I handle these situations? The only way to really handle it, background check. Someone sends you a tell or someone wants to join, you quickly go over the lodestone, you see, hey, did they have a clear? You ask them what they have to say. You ask them how far they've been, and if as soon as you see they're lying, you go, dude, you said you know this. Do you know it? Like, you ask again. Because, like, you've died every time to Hot Wing or Hot Tail or something. You've not avoided a single cauterize. Like, I need to know that you know this and, like, what to do. So, that's the big thing. It's like, ultimately, it's your time. Ultimately, it's your party finder. You run it how you're going to run it. No one's going to change your mind on that. And this is another thing. Like, we were just talking about the potion, how people at level 60 don't necessarily know how to play just because they played through 60 levels of the game thus far. You know what I mean? So, I don't think this issue really gets any better with or without jump potions, and I don't think your situation is going to improve much because the big difference between 2.x and 3.x is a lot more people move to Gilgamesh post 3.x to find a more consistent raid tier, or more consistent, like, primal clearing, a more consistent breadth of people for statics and whatnot. So that's the big difference between 2.x and 3.x that you're probably seeing. And that may end up it may be where you end up after I tell you this, but that's probably the big difference is what you're seeing. Next question. Hey, Happy. I'm not going to say that because I don't know what it means. I think it says hello from the Dutchland. I think that's what it says. Hello from the Dutchland. But I don't know because I don't speak that language. So I'm just going to say hello from the Dutchland. Hello from America. First time asking, been watching your stream for some weeks now. Your guides were super helpful when I was a newbie, got me through a lot of commendations, and thanks for that. Thank you for watching them. My bonus for you is a lot of love, but since you can't do anything with that, have 2 handfuls of lore tomes. I actually need that because I haven't weekly capped this week because of Star Ocean. Started playing the game 3 months ago from 0. I'm a level 60 Paladin with my Zeta and Anima done. I absolutely love Paladin, but I can't ignore the fact that people don't value it and won't deal any damage. You say Paladin AoE's potential is garbage. Here are a few questions and ideas. Okay. Okay, so just because it's your first time asking, and this is a lot of text, I don't really do what are your thought questions, because everyone has ideas of what they could change. Everyone has ideas on how the game, on how a job could be different, or how we don't, like, I don't answer these when it comes to this, because we'll be here forever. And ultimately it's, what do I think? What do I think is irrelevant, because they're not going to do those things. Like, that, it has no impact on the game itself. And while it's great to always kind of say, oh, you know, wouldn't it be cool if Flash had 20 potency on it, so they had some AoE damage? Great. Wouldn't it be great if Goring Blade, if you applied it to the same target twice, if it spread the dot into an AoE? That'd be great. But ultimately, we'll be here forever if we have to do questions like this, because then everyone does questions like this. So just letting you know, since your first time, we don't do what are your thoughts on this change to a job that will probably never happen questions. Alright, next question. Hey, Happy, how's it going? A while ago, you answered my question about having only ever been a DPS and wanting to branch out into tanking and healing, so thanks for that. Question I have this week is a dilemma, and I like your advice. I had to take a break from the game due to personal reasons, but right when I was able to come back to it, my free company broke up. A friend of mine had offered to let me join the free company there and now, but to be honest, my motivation to play my main character has gone down the drain. Anyway, my question is, should I take up friend on their offer and stay with my main player? Yeah, there's no reason to just make a whole new character. Like, unless you really don't want to pay the $18 and you want to start playing on another server, that's like the only reason you have to make a new character. But there's no reason to abandon a level 60 Dragoon, because that level 60 Dragoon, even if you're not planning on like playing it hardcore, you can still use it to get gear for a tank before it hits level 60 by doing your daily stuff. Like, oh, now I have all this gear for my tank when it hits 60. I have all this gear for my other DPS when it hits 60. All this gear for my healers when it hits 60. You're better off keeping the characters. Never a point in saying, no, let me just not play the character I already put so much time into because the free company I was in prior is no longer there. It's like, just keep playing that character. All right, next question. Yo, thanks for a second of your time. Well, if it's only 1 second, then next... No, I'm kidding. Finally got around to messing with Stone Sky Sea, and this has been bothering me. What do the results mean exactly? I barely beat one of the challenges, so is my damage 100% solid for the trial, or am I in severe danger and a hindrance to your group? If you can beat that dummy, you're good. The thing that you can do to improve is there are set health values to each of the dummies. So if you clear it in 2 minutes and 57 seconds, you just divide its health by the number of seconds, so in this case 177, and that will give you what your DPS was on that dummy. Although there's a website to track that. There's a website that's specifically designed for Stone Sky Sea. It has all the health values of the dummies written, and then you just divide by the seconds and you know what your DPS is. So the only thing that you could really do new with Stone Sky Sea, having actually beaten that challenge, is see if you can get it to less than 3 seconds. You know, see if you can get it to 6 seconds, 8 seconds. And then you go, okay, that's an improvement. And it's still the same fight. So now I have even more room for error on this fight based on that. But if you can clear it, you're good. Because the DPS you need for the actual fight is less than the dummy itself. The dummy is just like a, hey, do this, you know your rotation perfectly over 3 minutes with no mechanics, great. Now show me how you do it with the mechanics. Next question. Hey, Happy, the Happy Sir. That is a new name. Super long time viewer, but definitely first time poster. Asker forum. I have always critical Rhytons. I like always critical Rhytons. Way more than always critical Dotons. Now for the question. Assuming both would result in a success, would you prefer a brand new thing to do in the open world to be added? Events that provoke cooperation in the community. Okay. Let me stop you there. Anything within the open world and cooperation with the community, those two things don't go together. Like, you think, like, maybe if it's all a common goal, it is. No. Or another instanced fight. This is assuming you could only have one or the other for a major patch. As long as they're made well, it doesn't really matter to me, because open world content that requires cooperation of the entire community is in very limited quantity, because that requires nobody, and I repeat, nobody, to be a shithead. Now, if you want to talk about something along the lines of going to an outpost and killing all the enemies attacking it, fantastic. We have fates for that. We already have that, basically. And if you just give it another fancy name and just make it harder, fantastic. You know, like, maybe people will cooperate to do it. Nobody wants to fail it, but nobody's going to wait, and nobody's going to be patient, and nobody's going to not blame others if something doesn't go wrong, you know what I'm saying? So, anything that provokes cooperation does not necessarily get it in return. You know what I mean? So, I would rather see another boss... I would rather see the raid tiers be made bigger, in all honesty, because the biggest problem right now is there's just this huge spike in difficulty when there's only 4 bosses in a raid tier. Now the spike is from A7 to A8 and not from A5 to A6 as much, but it's still there, as much as it was in Gordius, although this time it comes a little bit later. So I would rather see the tiers be made more stable and bigger than have some more open world content that people just complain about because the other people fuck them over for it, pretty much. Alright, next question. Hey, Happeroo! I remember a while back Yoshi P said something about making it possible to have access to free company and LS chats on browser or mobile. That's coming in 3.5, if I'm not mistaken. Because what they're doing is they're also making cross-server chat a thing in 3.5. To what capacity, we don't know exactly. It may only be in the capacity of the cross-server party finder. But we don't know precisely yet. But yes, they did say that they were going to do that. They said that that was not until probably 3.5 that we would see that application. Alright, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. Hey. Alright, I'm interested in your honest opinion. I hope so. On my server side, it's pretty hard to clear extreme trials. Oh, we had a question just like this earlier, so let's see. Just banned my solo free company, but I did before just had the opportunity to join a raid. Tried at 3.1, to be honest, I had no benefits from it. I was isolated from the diadem and any activities. Why would you be isolated? No one answered me when I was asking for a trial. My friends acted like that, so I left those companies, got back to my solo free company where I had benefits of using an airship, plant my garden. So my recommendation, have a character with your own free company and shit, and then have a character that you join other free companies with. Because it seems like no matter what, you have a high expectation of of what you should be able to do with another free company. And some free companies are more lenient. Some of them want you to be around for a certain amount of time because they're just like, oh, this random dude just joined. We're not just going to give this person airship access because we don't know them. We don't know if they're trustworthy. They can tell us they are, but like there's so many issues with people going around to free companies and abusing their systems if they get the rights, like stealing money from the chest, stealing items from the chest, fucking with the airships, doing their own thing, taking complete control of a system versus actually working together with the free company or participate or needing to generate that level of trust with the people that they're using their features that these other people have worked, you know, long, or they've put in effort to get those things and they don't want them to be destroyed. So I'd say that if you really feel the need to have access to a solo diadem or access to you know, your own garden or whatever, it sounds like you need a character that has a house and a free company. It's their own free company and a house. You need just one character that has that, and then maybe you let in a few friends, and that's it. And then if you want to join another one, you need another character, because it sounds like you will never be happy joining another free company, because I would not expect to just automatically give someone who's brand new to a free company access to all those things. Just, you can't do that. It's not very safe to do. So I'd say that that's the best thing. And then I see this other thing right here. Let's see, because oh, and as for the clearing extreme primals, it's like some servers do it well, some don't. Some of them you gotta know people. Some of them you have to kind of work extra hard at it, and sometimes you just gotta go to Gilgamesh. But when the cross-server party finder comes, it'll probably be a lot better. But we'll see. That's not a guarantee. That just means there's more people to choose from, which, well, that's not always a good thing. And then let's see. What advice to encourage people for that content? I just go to another server. Yeah, see, so go to another server. See, you caught the gist of it. There you go. All right, next question. Hey, Haps, how you doing? How you doing? I'm doing alright, man. Alright, so 2.0 I mostly did DPS, 3.0 I've been mostly healing, and for 4.0 I'd like to tear into whatever the new tank will be. I'm casually if we get a new tank. I'm assuming we will, though. So I'm casually starting to learn tanking. So in your opinion, what are the most important skills I need to hone in order to be a good tank? AoE enmity. It sounds like it's a really simple concept. It isn't to a lot of people. Be able to hold enmity on multiple targets without destroying your resources at that. Like, you don't need to only use overpower on 3 enemies. You can overpower 2 or 3 times and then rotate your combos between the 3 of them and watch your enmity bar on your party list. You can do that. That's things that you might want to practice. Also, keeping up debuffs is a big thing. Like, if you're a warrior, keeping up Storm's Eye or Storm's Path, that's very important. And then filling in Butcher's blocks in between kind of deal. Is there anything that good tanks do that? You know what good tanks do? They know when it's okay to DPS. They know when to use defensive cooldowns. Like, oh, I'm switching to Deliverance. Let me use Vengeance, so I'm just as tanky in Deliverance as I am in Defiance. And then you have not great tanks that go, I saw a guy that said use Fellcleave, so I'm gonna use Fellcleave now. And then they just get shit on because all they do is go Deliverance and just try to fucking do Fellcleave all the time. Don't be that tank. Do not be that tank. That's not a good tank to be. So, pay attention to your defensive cooldowns, watch your resources, and stay alive. Probably the single most important thing, but learn how to do DPS while staying alive. Alright, next question. Hello again, Mr. Happy, Twitch chat, and YouTubers. Today I give you all delicious Puerto Rican shade ground coffee. Listen, I got Hap coffee right here. This is from Colombia. It's fantastic. Okay, I love it. Today my question is simple. How useful is materia? Useless while you're leveling, mandatory at level 60. I don't want to say useless while leveling, but there's never a point where you're going to go, man, I'm level 45. Before I get to level 50, let me put materia in all the gear that has materia slots. That'll never happen. Ever. So don't worry about it until level 60, and then when you get to 60, it is insanely mandatory as soon as you get to the minimum item level of 220-ish, and everything has materia slots available. Alright, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, hope your 4th of July will go well. Hey, this will be airing on a July 4th. That's a good point to make, my good sir. Got a few questions on lore stuff, so here's hoping your story, whatever fireworks show you're going to see. Going to Tally's house later. Actually, well, later, we record these on Sunday, so we're going to Tally's today. Going to Serious Gaming's house on July 4th, so that's going to be fun. Good people, good people. So let's answer the question, shall we? Okay, first question. While the 3.3 main scenario was awesome, I was wondering if you felt that maybe it would have been better if we had to have a few shots of how Ishgard handles attacks from the inside. So from what we understand, we didn't get to see Ishgard from the inside because they never made it inside of Ishgard. And that's what it is in theory, because that's what they make it seem like they never got past. Somehow they just never got past the bridge. I think it would have been cool if maybe we had a fight in the pillars, for example. And like, what if if we fought Nidhogg in the pillars? That would have been sick nasty. Although it's still sick nasty when we do it the final steps of faith. So it's not bad that we didn't get to see it. My only question is, where the fuck were all the dragoons? There's not. Estinian wasn't the only one. There are other dragoons there. Where were they? Please. And let's see, 2. If we end up fighting the Empire for Alamigo, do you think they might do an aerial assault with Dragoons jumping off the ships? Now, you probably won't see Dragoons be a center point anymore. Dragoons, I was just going to say, Dragoons didn't even defend Ishgard. There's no way you see Dragoons do stuff for 4.0. If they wouldn't even, if they wouldn't even help Ishgard, there's no way they're jumping off airships for the Imperial stuff. So no, they're not going to be a center point again. A lot of people suspect that Monk's going to be a pretty big center point. And 3 will race Velger and the Brood ever assist Ishgard and the Orzi Alliance only if dragons are in severe threat and we have a reason to ally with them, which Ethis seems to think we will, because the Empire is constantly looking for technology that either controls primals or controls dragons. Both of those seem to be like center points for what they're trying to do. So probably a pretty important thing, because that probably means that we'll be seeing them again in the future. Alright, next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. I hope you're having fun with so many new games. I enjoyed Star Ocean 5. I had to do my Star Ocean 5 review this week at some point. I have only 2 questions. Only? Man. I'm having problems getting into raiding. Okay, this sounds very similar to the question we had earlier. He's on Leviathan, which is mid-pop, and you can only get on really late. Because my job and my internal clock, I have trouble playing late. My FC is nice, but they raid late also. It sounds like you do much better on like a Japanese server, which has like the reverse schedule of you, or a European server. Well, no, because European servers would be like morning, and then this is, let's see, waiting for a group that fits my schedule, and start after 10 p.m. EST, because your job and your internal clock. Yeah, it sounds like you need a group that raids earlier. So, like, for example, if you get European prime time, then that would be, you would have more latency, but you would also probably have a better ability in actually finding a group, or like people on the Tonberry server, like the Aussies or the other people, because they have completely opposite schedule. But other than that, you pretty much just need to find a midday raiding group, which they do exist, but you know, people have jobs, like you're saying, you have work and whatnot. People have jobs, people have school, people have, you know, things to take care of, responsibilities. It's playing midday is not an expectation most people have, and I don't know what your schedule is because you didn't actually tell me what it is. So you're looking at your options. You could try to organize your own group, but I hope you know that the headaches that come with that may be more severe than it's worth. And I don't think you should give up raiding altogether. You might just have to party finder it and be on like a high pop server that does those things midday. Gilgamesh. And then on top of that, 2, I'm looking to have a DPS that I can use for endgame. My experience with Machinist has been okay. Tend to keep the fail my job. Yeah, so it just sounds like you need to practice. I almost got all my jobs to 60. Which DPS job is simple in a sense? None of them are simple in a sense. Like Machinist has a really complex opener, and then you also have to pay attention to Gauss Barrel and all the cooldowns to keep track of, so it probably wasn't the best DPS for you to start off with, but none of them are going to be simple. They all have little nuances you have to pay attention to. Monk, you have to make sure you're keeping Dragon Kick, Twin Snakes, Greased Lightning. Make sure whenever you're not hitting the boss, you're either change forming or charging your mantras. Making sure that you keep Demolish up on every 3rd step. Making sure you keep Touch of Death up, Fracture if possible. Black Mage has the least amount of dots, so if that's trouble, maybe you will, but then you also have to keep in mind keeping track of Enochian and making sure that you don't use your ley lines at the wrong time, and making sure that you get the right amount of cast off, making sure you know where to stand so you don't need to move too much, so you don't interrupt your casting. There's going to be little nuances for all of them. Keeping up with dots is the hardest thing for you, which it sounds like you say it is. Black Mage might be your best bet to try, but I'm not convinced, because I would have to like literally see the way that you internalize the information. And no matter what, don't expect to be good at something right off the bat. Expect to have to practice it. Alright, next question. Hey, Haps, how you doing? I'm doing alright, my man. Hope you're doing alright, too. Haven't asked any questions in a while, so I have some philosophy tomestones. You, sir, are scum. Anyways, just a quick question. How would I get a question answered by the Final Fantasy XIV team? It's weird that you're asking me how to ask a question. just obviously I get what you're going with this, but just breaking it down on a molecular level like that. Like that's what it is. The only way you're gonna get that, official forums, and not being a shithead on the official forums, which, you know, you get banned on the official forums really easily if you start, like, insulting people and anything like that. And on top of that, whenever they make a thread for, like, miscellaneous questions on the live letters, but for your question, you want to be able to dye your chocobo's head because chocobos are able to be different colors. So you want your chocobo's head to be a different color than the rest of it, and thinking of anatomy, I don't think that works. I don't think that's a thing that they're going to even consider, but that does sound like the perfect candidate for a question that people will groan at during a live letter. So I think you have a good chance of getting it answered. And this is the final question that is over on the Dream Network forums before we take a few live ones from Twitch. Hello, ladies and gentlemen of Twitch and or YouTube, and hello, Mr. Happy. I'm glad I was the afterthought there. I know this question is a bit late, and I hope I make it in time, but I essentially have made it to I have essentially made to a standstill in 14 unless I'm wanting to make an alt and essentially see how fast I can progress from level 1 at the beginning of the game to level 60. Final steps of faith. I want to know if there's some tips and stuff that might help me cut off some time. So the biggest thing is don't neglect side content because you think you need to go through the main story faster. Ultimately, you will hit that wall from 46 to 49 even with all the bonus experience. Find a free company early that gives EXP bonus. Easily the most important one. Make sure you're doing your roulettes every day you log in. That's important as well. Don't just be like, no, I'm continuing the main story. I don't need, no, do the damn roulettes, okay? 3, make sure you're getting as many EXP things as possible. If you have a friendship circlet, great. If you have, make sure you get the Hall of Novice ring, awesome. Make sure you're eating food for experience 100% of the time. Also, make sure that you understand what cross classes you need and what your strategy is for tackling them. I made a power leveling guide for level 1 to 34 that requires a friend to do, however, as fast as I did it. I did 1 to 34 in 3 hours and 40 minutes. Could have done it in like 3 hours 15, 3 hours 20 minutes if I had done it the correct way, which was like not like we experimented a lot in that 3 hours and 40 minutes. So there's definitely a lot of little things, and keep in mind 2.1 and 2.5 is still gonna suck. Like you're still gonna have to do that, and on top of that, there's probably some dungeons that you're gonna have to do. It's a side dungeons you'll have to do as well. Having that extra gear helps. Having the extra poetics helps. But outside of people literally buying things for you, so when you hit certain level breakpoints, you don't need to worry about being underpowered. You're not gonna get through things much faster. As my chat is saying, do the damn thing. Alright, I'm going to take a few questions from the Twitch chat, and then we're going to wrap things up, guys. So if you have questions that aren't related to those questions, like, I hope you were paying attention, because I don't want them to be related to the questions we just answered. Or if they're questions I've been answering recently, I probably will just tell you I've answered it in a recent episode, and I can't do it. Alright, here's a question. So now I'm going to start taking questions from the Twitch chat. I asked them for a few questions, so here's one of them. This one's pretty simple. Is it just me, or is the online community becoming more malcontent? And the answer is yes. As more things come out, things feel, to a lot of people, certain things feel less innovative, or people have these crazy high expectations. You know the term everyone's a critic? Yeah, that term is being taken far more literally now. Pretty much everyone wants every experience to be crafted specifically to their needs, and if it doesn't, then it's not satisfactory to anybody according to them. And that especially comes to be true with MMOs, where even if an MMO is successful, and it's successful within its own reasons, like Final Fantasy XIV, does it have millions of concurrent subscribers? No, it doesn't. And they don't think that it should, because they expected the game to have they were like, if we get 200,000 subs, I'll be ecstatic. Like, that will be us making money. And they've had well over that since the game re-released. So is it not is it millions? No. And no, it's not 5 million. The website isn't concurrent subscribers. It's number of accounts, just to be clear. But for 500,000 or 600,000, that triples the expectation. They're like, hell yeah, dude. That is a crazy big success for us. So ultimately, take what you hear from people with a grain of salt, because most people speak from a place of personal opinion, and they do treat it as fact. And that's just how the internet has kind of grown up over time. It's like, no, this is not an opinion. It is shit. Like, they want you to be offended by the fact that their opinion, they take it as fact, and that your opinion is invalid. Anyone who tells you your opinion is invalid is like, come on. Like, come on now. Just at that point you go, all right, walking away from this crazy person, crazy person. All right, the next question we have from the Twitch chat, Roko asks, what's the one thing you've gained from streaming that you'll never give up without outside influence or actually forcing it outside of your control? That's a hard one, because I think of the things that you gain from streaming, and a lot of it you say, you know, without outside control, but everything about broadcasting kind of making it being a success is an outside factor. I mean, ultimately, it's, you got to put in the time, you got to put in the effort, you got to make sure you're consistent, you got to make sure you're that you're content with what you're doing, and you got to make sure everyone else is content with what you're doing. But I mean, think of it like you say, without an outside factor. What if tomorrow, let's just say Twitch, the company that I broadcast on, let's just say they said, yeah, we're gone, we're done. Like, I have no control of that. They're the platform that I broadcast on. Then you would say, oh, well, I should just go to YouTube. But then then you might think, oh, but you already have a YouTube. It's easy. No, now you got to rebuild a community over there, and you got to reapply everything that was Twitch integrated and make it YouTube integrated. Everything is already affected. Like, everything's already kind of like outside influence. Your viewers, seeing how your viewers react to certain content, that determines what kind of content not what kind of content you produce, but kind of like where you lean. Like, you make sure that you're still kind of happy with what you're doing, but if you see people enjoy something more as a broadcast, you kind of go, well, I'm enjoying that, they're enjoying it more, cool, we'll do more of that. We'll make that something that we do more often. Not the only thing you do, but something you do more often. There's so many little factors and variables that it's almost impossible to say that you would never give it up without outside influence, because those are the only things that are going to make you give anything up, are those outside influences, because there's no reason to give anything up otherwise, except your dignity, because man, these not dignity, except for say, oh man, I'll never let a company pay me to talk about product. Man, this SteelSeries headset, look at it, look at how nice the SteelSeries headset is right here. Man, this is amazing. Hashtag sellout. No, seriously, go buy SteelSeries stuff. It's amazing. I've been using it for 6 months. It's been way better than all the stuff I've used before it. So things like that change. You go, oh, I never let a company pay me to talk about it. It's like, no, here you go. Is it something I like? Yes, of course I'm going to do it. And then everyone calls you a sellout, and you're like, well, sad face, I fucking like it, so too bad, guys. That was like casual utopia. But anyway, it's a really hard question to answer, so I can only really give you insight as to how it's hard to answer and not actually answer the question itself. Alright, next question. This one's a Final Fantasy XIV related one. Our raid leader is a healer who still has I-200 gear, but no one has the balls to tell him to take a little time to upgrade his gear. We are currently on A7 Savage. Dude, A7 Savage and I-200 gear. You're not even allowed an A7 Savage anymore with I-200 gear, are you? Don't you need the item level minimum for the raid finder now? Am I wrong? Or do you not need that when you go in as a full party of 8? Huh. If he really is only I-200, you know what you tell me? Go, dude, like, upgrade your gear. You literally just grow balls. That's it. You grow balls. Like, dude, upgrade your gear. Like, no, that's not the problem. Dude, you died in one hit. Go upgrade your gear. And as soon as he dies in one hit because he has, like, 12,000 health when everyone else has, like, 18,000 health, go buy gear. No, he did the mechanic wrong. No, you died because it one-shot you, because it's an attack you can't avoid. Well, let's just hope it doesn't target me. Listen, you go and you get better gear, okay? You do it. Okay. Yeah. So, but if he has, like, average item level I-200 stuff, he should still go put in some effort to upgrade the I-200 pieces. Like, if he's in, like, some I-220, I-230, that's good. But you're making it seem like he's in full I-200, which doesn't sound possible to me. Those few I-200 pieces, you just go upgrade them. Yeah, even if you're raid group, you know what you do? You know what you do? Just to add on to that, Cap? One night, just queue into Midas normal, and he'll be like, why are we doing this? Be like, we're getting you upgraded gear. Don't even tell him you're doing it until after you're inside. We're farming you upgraded gear. There's 8 of us here. You're rolling on everything that you can. Upgrade your shit. Alright, and the last question that we're going to be answering for this Mondays with Mr. Happy is going to be a Canada Day themed question, because it was Canada Day this last, we had July 4th tomorrow, or today, because you're going to be watching this on a Monday. And then we just had Canada Day, right? So that was on Friday. So this question is, if you had to go to Canada, where in Canada would you go? And I have a very simple answer to that question, and that's to the mall. So, hopefully that was a satisfactory answer to your question. Thank you for joining me this week with Mondays with Mr. Happy. Next week is episode 100. I wonder what it is I want to do. You know what we'll do for episode 100? You know what we'll do? I want you guys to check the description of the video below. That's what I want you to do, okay? There's going to be an email address there, one that's completely dedicated to this purpose, and I want you to send in video questions. If you have the courage, send in some video questions for the broadcast itself. So, if you're down for that, have fun doing that. If you're not down for video questions, go and post your regular questions on the Dream Network forums as per usual. Here are those videos one more time as I stare directly into your soul. I don't even know what videos those are going to be because I don't even remember the videos I made in the last week. But on that note, everyone, I am going to be wrapping things up so we can get going in about an hour. But I'm going to do a separate goodbye on Twitch than I do on YouTube, so those of you on Twitch stick around for another couple of minutes while we wrap things up. Those of you on YouTube, I'll see you next week for episode 100 of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Until then, take care.